6:30 on the dot.
Ah,
I'm recording, right? Okay.
recording.
All right. So Judah, Lord Judah
Yeah,
Best.
we here, we
Welcome.
here.
Finally, right?
Finally, that's one of my tracks. Finally.
Yeah, I want to hear that. I want to hear that. So I want to thank you for being here once again. I've been thanking you for the last couple of weeks. It's been a journey pulling this together, and I'm so honored to have you as my first guest for the first episode of Artist Blueprint. Now, I am Kymani Jade for short, Kymani Jade, and I am hosting this as an opportunity for me to bring in some of my friends, colleagues, artists, arts educators, arts administrators into my living room to have a healing, honest, candid conversation about the work that they're creating in the community around healing justice and their artistry in particular. So today we're having a conversation about stress management, building resiliency, and mindfulness. So let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we?
Mhm.
All right, I'm
And
looking at my notes.
this is the first live stream from True Heart Academy offices as well.
Really? Okay.
So
A lot of firsts. A lot of
a
firsts.
lot at first. So this is the opening act
The opening
for
ad.
both of us.
And I definitely want to take some time to salute those who have come before us to create these sort of opportunities to carve out a path. So I want to take this moment to honor Professor Aniza Ali, Grace Aniza Ali. In fact, she was the person that really birthed in me this idea. Um, she's a professor, so she works at both City College and NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. You can find her online at ofnote.org, ofnotemagazine.org, actually. She pretty much created this online magazine. She is the editor, creative director, and curator of the magazine. And while sitting in her class, she actually introduced us to artists and social change agents from across the Americas. And in doing so, as we explored their work, she gave us this artist blueprint. And so I was like, oh, I gotta take this back and explore this with my friends, right? So that's where I'm at. That's where we are. So we're just focused on not only global artists, but local artists, the artists among us, the artists, who go unnamed, the unsung soldiers, right? Who are still catalysts for activism and social change. Now, I told you a little bit about Cornell.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have this as a surprise. So shout out to you and how we met through TAP. You know, this is our TAP cohort
Yes.
um,
2015.
certificate. You know, remember we got that?
I don't remember that. No, I don't.
Yeah, 2000.
Was
I
that
got
the
mine
end of 2016?
2017.
That was
No,
2016.
that was the full year that we did.
Okay, Tatik.
Yeah, to Teep. So shout
Oh,
out to Tateep. Today is their final day of registration, so that's why I wanted to shout them out.
yes,
You know,
yes.
and
Shout
that's
out to
how
Complete Word Project.
yeah. That's how we came together, building on this teaching artistry. So that's the path that we were on, we've been on. So
Yeah, for quite some
wanted
time.
to bring that forward
Yes.
and shout them out because they do a lot of
Amazing
work
work.
with organizations in New York City, throughout the city. And New York is dealing with a lot this year. New York City public schools, and we all are here as teaching artists, as outside providers to come into those buildings and do what we can. But now we are here on Zooms and working from home, doing what we can and using our creativity to impact lives still and all. So the fact that we're on this Zoom call now, bringing ourselves forward and just letting everybody know. Like shout out to the teachers, our teaching partners. Hold your heads up and keep steering forward. So this is where we're at, and
Mhm.
the fact that we come forward is what's really important now.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I didn't really say yet. I told you my specially invited guest name, but I also want to share with you some of the work he's doing quickly. I'm not going to read out no long bio, but Cornell Lord Judah, he is an advanced teaching artist. He works with multiple organizations, including the one that we are both affiliated with, Community Word Project. He is a mindfulness practitioner and the founder of True Heart Academy. So we'll talk a little bit more about that work as well. But Judah, we didn't meet in 2017.
No. Before that,
Yeah,
that was the whole. That was when we completed the year long.
yeah,
We had already worked together for a whole year at that point, but we
yeah.
already knew each other before that.
From the Summer Institute at
Yeah.
Sarah Lawrence College.
Mm-hmm.
Tears, a teardrop. All right, y'all. So before we really, really, really dive in, I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge that we are coming together. We even have this opportunity to come together because of the amazing, beautiful, dedicated work of indigenous people who toiled this land, whose traditionally this is their homeland. So I want to just make sure that we give honor to that, not only to the communities of the Lenape and Wappinger, whose land we currently reside on, but also their elders and those from the past and those who will be the future. So again, I acknowledge them and I acknowledge this land. All right. So there's nobody with us right now, right? I don't know. I can't tell. But what I want to say for those of you who
There's a whole lot with us.
Listen. Can we have a moment for our ancestors? Because there are a lot of people around us right now, a lot of energy, a lot of spirit, a lot of love and protection. So I just really want to have another moment for our ancestors who are with us, who guide us, who are sitting right beside us. Thank you. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for showing up for us. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your constant guidance and infinite love and unconditional affection. All right. So once again, this meeting is brought to you by Zoom, streamed through Restream. I'm telling you that for accessibility purposes because I was searching long and hard to figure that out myself. But it will be streamed. It is being streamed right now on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and it will be hosted on YouTube for later viewing. So come back for that. Now, I wanted to take a quick moment to open things up with a little bit of interest. So can we have a moment of silence for Judah Bless?
So I own the rights to this music, these lyrics. And here's a little message. Lose your mind, use your heart. Dream big from the start. With the will of our intent, we can power to any event. Charge up, free the mind, and repeat it all the time. Stay on the grind, stay kind, stay aligned, and you'll be fine.
Man, I kind of want you to do that over, I'm trying to sing along.
I'm going to do it over with acapella.
Man, I don't know if I can sing along with acapella. I don't know about all that part. All right, so I really, really, really want to get to know more about the work that you're creating, you're doing in the community. But I first want to start off with you. What's your personal mission? What's your personal vision as an artist, as a teaching artist, as a music producer? What is it that you're bringing into this world?
Well, as a young child, as a inspired young hip hopper at about like age 13, I set out to just create the music that was just invigorating me. I got into visual art at an early age, and so art had always been guiding my steps in my life. I was acknowledged for my artwork as a kid, in fourth grade, and even in kindergarten. So when I got into hip hop, the music that inspired me were music with messages, with music artists like Public Enemy, KRS, X Clan, you know, groups and individual artists that have messages. You know, I would do the dances and all that, you know, but it was those messages in those groups and individuals' music that inspired me. So, you know, when I began to create music for myself, I just started to notice what was coming out of me creatively, and there
Mm-hmm.
was a message coming out of me. You know, so this is just me listening to the music that I'm creating, and like just being inspired to inspire others, and you know, I just noticed myself leaning into the spiritual journey of life through my music. Um, so in that, spirituality followed me. You know, it was a discovery through spirit to spirituality through music, artists. Then I discovered artists like Bob Marley,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and definitely a major impact in my growth as a musician and just as a person that wants to inspire others. And that just led me to first my first name was the Soul Child. That was my first artist name, and then it led me to Lord Judah. Judah was a name I received from some of my elders, and my spiritual guides, and then I just put the Lord in front of it as like, you know, to signify that I do my thing, and you know, saying I'm powerful with it, and hence Lord Judah became who he became,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, that's the musical journey,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know.
So much
And
power
then
in the name too. Go ahead, I'm listening.
yeah, so I mean, and then as time went on with just my ideas of leadership and learning about that, learning about civil rights era, learning about like folks that did steps now. So the music inspires the steps. So now that brought me into learning about what are the steps to change, to creating, um, you know, new paths and new worlds. So that led me to, you know, step into doing actual leadership. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so I volunteered myself in time to local youth groups and uh, local youth agencies like the White Plains Youth Bureau and City of White Plains Youth Bureau. And from there, I started a program. I helped to pilot a program called Club Excel, which was the first major um, grant given to an agency on the East Coast. It was like uh, one of the first biggest 21st century grants. That was the word. It was the first big 21st century grant given on
Really?
the East Coast, and I helped pilot a music class. And from that music class, that was like 2002, 2003. And from there, I began to teach hip hop class in the middle schools that I grew up in. My own little brand of hip hop instruction. I counseled with one of my childhood friends that became a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me how to develop curriculum. His name was Derek Cradle. Shout out to Cradle. They doing their thing. Shout out to the Cradles. Um, so from there, you know, I did a 30-week curriculum. You know, of course, 30-week curriculum. That was just to kind of let them know that I had a structure to what it was I was trying to bring forward, and it started from there. You know, and some of the first young folks that I started with, they're still doing music now. Shout out to Cassius Clay. You know, he came up. He was like, yeah, high, and now he's battle rapping, and you know, in the major battle rap scene, doing his thing. Killer Whale, Big Dog K, Fury. These are like young guys that were with me when they were in middle school, and now they all doing their thing. They all, you know, pursuing their careers as artists. Buddha, you know, my godson, you know, Recognition, as that was his name, Recognition, you know, Rec. So, you know, just the teaching artistry and the music, that's just the journey of just a young person that was inspired by music and inspired by art. And, you know, it was something that, a spirit that kind of led me to just to do. and to be of purpose, So, thanks to all of those groups that inspired me to like really contribute to society in a positive way. And, I'm never going to go any way but the positive route with what I do.
Well, thank you for your work. I'm sure there's a lot of people that you just named who can thank you as well, if not all of them. We do so much work in these classrooms alongside the teachers and all the other educators that make up the school buildings. And, one thing that I find a lot of people have questions about is what is teaching artistry? Like, what is a teaching artist? And why don't you
Hmm.
just call yourself an art teacher? What's the difference? And I think I really want to take a moment to answer that now. Like, what is it the work that we do with our youth? How do we collaborate with teachers and school psychologists and guidance counselors and principals and all the above paraprofessionals? What is teaching artistry? Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Hmm. So, teaching artistry, I'll give it from a practical, you know, position of just what it looks like. So, usually, there's a deficit in regards to art instruction in certain schools
Mhm.
and agencies that hire people like me, like Kim, and other talented people that otherwise are pursuing their artistic careers. Um, Especially in New York City, like we're probably the biggest arena for teaching artistry because there's so many people, so many artists that are in New York pursuing their careers as professionals.
Mhm.
So opportunities come along because as go-getters, as folks that are really about thriving for their missions and their careers and their artistry, we seek to do things that are complementary to what it is we bring to the table. So we find applications, we do the hustle and bustle, and we find work that positions us to be inside of classrooms, to be service in correctional facilities, to do service, in various community centers and areas and communities. And what we are required to do is train and learn how schools um, would like us to uh, collaborate with them to bring forward, um, art projects, to bring forward, just students' individual creativity, but it's more of a collaborative relationship that we're there to bring to a school, to any building that we walk into,
Mhm.
using the passion, the talent that we have already established. Like I said, with me, I established my artistic abilities at a wee young age, So teaching artists are people that have opportunities to use their passion and their gifts to assist in helping students stay in school and helping people overcome uh, trauma, to helping people bring out their own individual creativity and find their creativity. And we'll walk into a classroom and I'll do, for example, early in my teaching artist career, I did a lot of science and art integration, science
Mhm.
and music integration. I would work with the science teacher, and they would say, "Okay, we're doing a unit on mountains and whatnot." So I would have to figure out how to teach the students about mountains and have them articulate what they learned through maybe a rap or a song about the mountains, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so we are an aid in that way because it helps some students in that classroom that were having some difficulty with the subject matter. You know, music inspires repetition. Repetition inspires learning. So an embodiment. So that's the dual goal of art in education is that it inspires and it encourages uh, a new perspective on a subject.
Mhm.
So that's our role as teaching artists, and that's what we do. You know.
I like to think of teaching artistry almost like, so you have the OBGYN, we're like the, and this is not gender specific, we're like the doulas, the midwives, right? We come along and make that educational process, when you're dealing with all the different rules and regulations, we make things a little smoother for you. And we're not just in the schools, we're in, like you said, the community centers, we're in the prisons, the juvenile detention centers, we're in the transitional housing centers, programs. We find ourselves wherever we find community, wherever we find youth, supplementing the curriculum, like you said, bringing in new curriculum. So yeah, it's beautiful work. I thank you for breaking it down in the ways that you did, because a lot of people have questions about it. I know that the field itself is about 40, 50 years old. So it's a new field. And so whatever we can do to shine some light and clarity on what that is and what we do and what we will continue to do and how we can support others who are interested in connecting with you, is amazing. But I also want us to talk a little bit about what social change is, right? Because teaching artists are essentially social change agents, and the organizations that the two of us generally work in are rooted in social justice work. So, in your own words, what would you say is social change?
In my words, social change is uh, people or communities responding to an innate uh, feeling of the need for better. So, you know, we always people talk about like what doesn't sit with me, something doesn't sit right with you, you kind of feel it, and then intrinsically you know it too, So injustice usually doesn't sit right with a sane human being, you know. So when communities experience injustice, when individuals experience injustice, it is something in them that begins to create an idea or solution. And when a group starts to collaborate on ideas and solutions, collectively, then that's when social change comes about. So, this is more of an organic explanation of it, but I'm trying to tune into it as a feeling of, what is the human response to bring about social change?
Right.
You know, so, to me, it's like a collective observation and a decision to create a solution for a specific problem or a multitude of problems and issues.
You know, I should have asked you specifically, what is art for social change? So if you could just tell us a little bit about that, real quick, just real quick. What is
Art for
art for
so
social change? So how
art
does art even support activism?
so like I was talking about in the science class, music encourages repetition. So repetition encourages embodiment, you
Mm,
know. So art inspires, inspiration also encourages embodiment. So me looking at a specific message that may come through art, through a work of art, it is doing its job on me. If I have to walk by it every day, if I have to look at it every day, right? The fact that the protests, how that has changed, that landscape has changed to um, people's names and artists and athletes putting their people's names prominent on their jerseys and
mm,
on their face masks. The fact, the intention with that is to have people continuously see that, to
mm,
know that these lives matter. So that's an element of repetition and the subconscious effect that it has on people. Is that if you continue to see a thing, it continues to it'll do its part in registering in your system. You will have to individually do your own part to work that out for yourself. But the messaging is the intention of the artist. So the Black Lives Matter murals all over the on in city halls on the concrete and whatnot. These are all intended to stimulate action.
yeah,
Not all art, but art can be utilized to intend, to stimulate action. The civil rights movement, those songs that came about from "We Shall Overcome" and encouraging folks to remain resilient and to keep forging forward. If it wasn't for those chants, those mantras that were in the back of people's minds, that at their toughest moment they can look at and just start to hum to themselves. Just doing that starts to bring their spirits up, right? So that's the role that music and art has always played. Um, and I'm an ancient architect, architecture historian type of person, so I like to, look at ancient cultures and their contribution to civilization. And art was embedded throughout ancient civilizations. You know, so that's what I can say to art and change,
Yeah.
art and intention.
Yeah, and that intentionality still runs to today, right? Like we hear so much energy around verses, for example, right? The competitions, or not even
Hmm.
just coming together at this point, with verses, and how that's been healing so many people spiritually, mentally, and emotionally right now during the quarantine, during the lockdown, with everything happening with COVID. So we definitely see how music not only educates as you embody and experience whatever it is that you're learning when you're hearing it or moving it through your body, but it also heals, right? So that's more of what we want to talk about today is, how your particular medium and art form, music, relates and connects to mental health. So
Hmm.
tell me a little bit more about that, really briefly.
Yeah, and my role as an artist, my individual role and intention as an artist is to just create music that encourages folks to heal, encourages communities to heal, encourages the world to heal. My track record of creating music based around that, music projects such as uh, hip hop, which stands for highly intelligent people healing our planet.
One
You
more
know,
again, one more again. Slow that down for me. Let's rewind. It stands for
highly
what?
intelligent hip hop stands for highly intelligent people healing our planet. That was a project that uh, I co-created back in 2006. And shout out to Travis, Rhythm, and everybody that partook in that. The Westchester Martin Luther King Institute for Nonviolence. Um, and pretty much, as far as just my intention with music, is always to create a healing modality from it, a healing use, whether it be the wording, whether it be the messaging that turns into action. We've done voting registration drives based around the music project. You know, I created True Heart Academy based of based upon an album that I made called True Heart. So True Heart Academy started with an album that I made utilizing healing tones in hip hop music, and this was a few years back. But this is just my track record, and this is just what I do. I got to put that album back up too, and we putting that up soon.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear a little bit from that album too. We can put it in the description, you know,
Hmm.
when people are coming to check it out, they can see that. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit more about True Heart Academy because you mentioned it, we talked about it briefly in the beginning, but tell me a little bit more about what it is. What's the work that you do with True Heart Academy?
Yeah. So True Heart Academy is a culmination of all of my years of teaching artistry, my different toolkit and strategies that I've gained from teaching artistry, and mixed in with, just my spiritual journey, as well as my journey of learning different tools for self healing, stress management, different tools that I picked up and learned in order to empower myself, to keep myself grounded amidst amidst a world that can be chaotic at times.
Mhm.
And it was an inspiration, like I said, from an album that I
Mhm.
created called True Heart. And it was just like a part of my journey that brought me to a space to create workshops based around individuals partaking in the workshop and having an individual experience that from that experience, they'll produce a piece of art uh, in whatever kind of medium they decide to create that piece of art and make it. There is their option to make it available to others, or they can keep it to themselves. Uh, but it's a journey. True Heart Academy workshops, like I said, are a culmination of all of that work
Yeah.
mixed into individual journeys that people can embark on for their own self healing. And I created for adults and with the idea that all people in service will naturally uh, trickle down. All of what is going on for them will trickle down into their work. So if you're a teacher, if you're doing your healing work, if you're doing your, your practice, then it'll trickle down into your work with your students. If you're a police officer, law enforcement, if you're doing your practice of, you know, uh, regrounding yourself, constantly regrounding yourself, and doing the necessary things to heal some of the wounds in your own life, it'll trickle down into how you deal with others,
Yeah.
deal with the communities that you're serving. Same for correctional officers, same for uh, anyone that is in service to others. The idea is that sometimes an artistic approach can allow you to see a different perspective on what it is that you've experienced or what it is that you're experiencing. And we know the left brain is associated with our logical thinking. Right brain is associated with our creative thinking.
Right.
And how many of us adults, as we become adults, begin to shut off that creative element,
Yeah.
right? We just start to deal with the logical because we have to go to work. We do X, Y, and Z to survive. And a lot of solutions get shut off because of that. A lot of opportunities to heal wounds that continue to follow us get shut off because we a lot of times shut off that right hemisphere of our brains, and this is what belongs to us. Your entire mental capacity belongs to you. So you give up creativity is not necessarily something that we want to do. So True Heart Academy, the workshops are not heavy on artistic merit.
Yeah.
They're naturally intended. They're naturally intended for folks at whatever artistic space that they arrive at to be able to just do something, you know. But the idea is that you're going to be activating your right and left hemisphere of your brain to partake in the solution building for you as an individual. And when I do group sessions, the group sessions are just a reflection of that, but on a larger scale, you know. And so it's in the form of workshops sometimes when I go out and present workshops, but the downloadable courses are for individuals to partake in. And coming soon will be the True Heart Academy Care Package
Okay.
Workshop Assistant. So I'm gonna have actual materials packages
Yeah.
that a person will be able to do from workshop 1 to workshop 6 and have all the materials that they need within that package, and they'll be customized
Mhm.
um, so that you can have like a full out True Heart Academy experience.
Yeah.
And there's a certification at the end. So I always encourage folks to take part in it. And, you'll be surprised that aspects of your creativity, if you're already an artist, that will come out of you because of the prompt to move you uh, in different ways,
Right.
you know, to explore what's going on with you. I mean, like I said, it's individual based, so you can do it in the privacy of your own home. And this is why I created True Art Academy.
I love that. I love that you have in-person sessions for groups. You talk a lot about group coherence. I don't really know what that is. We can talk about that in a second. But then being able to take it to a virtual space, they can lead it themselves, facilitate the 6 segments of the actual self-healing course, which I think is
Mhm.
amazing. That's wonderful. So I can download the course myself and take my students, or not even my students, young adults or adults that I'm working with, through that process after I, of course, self-heal and take myself through that process.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's there's a PDF when you download the course. There's PDF, there's PowerPoint, there's video and audio of the specific course. So you'll get all those things. And if you decide to, after you complete, for example, after you complete workshop one, you can then present it to whoever you decide to present it to, because you'll have all of the tools to do so.
Right.
Um, so the idea is uh, doing your own work and understanding the incentive in doing your work and how it'll translate into those that you serve. And like this is why it culminates my journey, because as I begin to develop as a teaching artist, I learned in all the different spaces that I moved in, I would need to have tools to help reground myself. I would be in spaces where there was a little bit more trauma than others,
Mm-hmm.
and just different variations of uh, people that I would have to deal with throughout the course of a year,
Mm-hmm.
into the hundreds, So I needed something I needed tools that would allow me to ground myself and keep my energy levels and creativity at the same peak. So, that's pretty much how it came about, how all this work came about, So I hope folks will, tune into it a little deeper and learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah. And later we'll talk more about how they can actually access some of those tools. I want to look more into it myself, maybe join one of the sessions, group sessions, when we can actually reach out and touch each other again. Um, I know you talked about 6 different paths around this whole idea of stress management and building resilience, but I wanted to hear more about heart math. What's heart math?
Hmm. So Heart Math is a modality, instructional um, training program teaching individuals tools of heart math, patented tools of heart math, and these are specific approaches to uh, practices around um, building resilience.
Right.
So an amount of um, there's an amount of strategies that you have to choose from, and in those strategies, it trains you into learning how to utilize meditation and utilize the different aspects of your physiology to uh, enhance your presence, to enhance your coherence. And you asked about coherence earlier. So
Yeah.
coherence being a state that we end up in, we arrive at as our most optimal state when have either uh, met, we have either arrived at our peak performance, or we have kind of let's see, what's a good word for our flow state. So coherence for a basketball player would be uh, arriving at the free throw line and just, because of repetition, knowing what needs to happen with their breathing, what needs to happen with their motion in order to just do what they've been doing for their entire lives. So when we fall into coherence, naturally, uh, a natural space of coherence for a person that is not even paying attention to it would be a walk in the park and sitting down at the bench that they always sit down at, and when they finally sit down, they're taking like that breath in and just feeling that space of familiarity with the environment, and that's that sense that's inside of their body that is coherence.
Yeah.
At that specific point in space, that is represents coherence for that individual. And what heart math does is it trains people in learning how to achieve that state at at random, how whenever you need it and whenever you would like to call on it. It allows you to learn the techniques to always arrive at that space. So if you're in a stressful situation, how do you call upon uh, your coherence to bring you back into that space of that place of groundedness? Uh, um, and the techniques that you learn bring you into your heart space, and over time, because it's a practice, uh, you just develop more techniques in learning how to achieve that for yourself. Peace is a practice,
Mm.
you know, like when you look at Buddhist monks and you look at, you know, people that practice meditation on a daily basis, traditionally, um, the idea is that that space is one that becomes familiar. So whenever something is going on chaotic, you always have that. And this is why you have group meditations. So because what that does, it increases the coherence, everyone's coherence, you know, because we all radiate out a level of energy. It's an energetic field that we all are connected to. Um, and when I'm calm, for example, a lot of times to calm a person down that is like uh, kind of unraveling, you have to first be calm. So we can interpret that as
Pause,
being
pause. Can you repeat that one more again? In
to
order to calm down someone who is
unraveling, you have to first be calm.
preach up. I'm sorry, I'm
So
thinking about a lot that's happening in the world today. But yes.
yeah, so it's the idea of you first being in that grounded space first, and knowing that my coherence will in turn uh, result in an attempt at allowing that person to reach my level of coherence. But I know I still have to be at that space first. Then I can approach them. And then energetically, what begins to happen is that shift. Whenever you go into the hospital, you know, if you go into the trauma unit or you go into, you're there as an emergency, everyone is calm, you know. The job of the facilitators in the hospital are to be calm, especially if you get there from a traumatic injury or wound, you know. And the idea is that that coherence, that group coherence, will help to subside your unraveling or your intense pain or what have you. You
Mhm.
know, they'll talk to you calmly. They'll do whatever they can to allow you to know that, all right, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. You see movies when folks, when a person gets, you know, injured, you know, and a person that's talking to them will say, you know, we'll try to calm them down. We'll say, stay with me, or, you know, talk in a soft manner. And that purpose is the intention is to have them uh, utilize your energy to get them to that space uh, that'll bring them out of that deficit. Um, so I mean, I went in different areas with it, but what I could say to coherence is that if you practice it, um, you can you can associate it with a flow state.
Mhm.
And anything that is a flow state for you, that is currently a flow state for you, it could be that you read. When you start to read, you just the book takes you away. It could be when you make music. When you make music, you lose track of time. It could be when you're doing your art. When you're doing your art or your painting, you just lose track of time. And there's a practice though that can allow you to achieve that space, that physiological space for yourself wherever you are in the world. So even if you're outside the studio, you can use that practice of coherent breathing to bring you to that space.
Mhm.
So I can, you know, if you're prime or ready, I can do an example.
Okay, well let's move through some more of the questions because I want us to definitely close out with that example. Because what I love
Okay.
about what you're sharing is that that intention can be communal, and hopefully we're creating a communal space here, right? A communal space of conscious collective consciousness. Um, and I think that's what people find when they go to church, when people join marching bands, you know, and people, like you said, monks that come together, um, people who are practicing their Kundalini energy, and most certainly through mindful breathing. So if we could do that a little later, that'd be excellent, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's the best way to show it is to show and prove, and
yeah,
so you know,
and that's definitely
yeah,
something that I wanted to talk more about. What are some of these techniques, these actual techniques that we can incorporate into our daily lives and in our living? So for sure, we're gonna go through that again, um, in action in a little bit. But I did want to take some time to answer a question or two, another question or two, before we speak more specifically to what everyone is dealing with COVID. We're managing our stress right now. So, um, Cornell, so I'm hearing that in 2019, May 1st, 2019 was proclaimed Cornell Carelock Day. Is this true? I'm hearing this in
yes,
the grapevine. Is that true?
that's true, that's true.
Tell me more.
Westchester County is where I reside. Um, my county legislators um, proclaimed me to be as a teaching artist, as a youth advocate, as as a person that is has a mission for using my talents to help the world and help others. He gave me a day. You know, I've received two proclamations before that. You know, throughout the years from my county, but they proclaimed on May 1st that that would be my day, Cornell Carelock Day. I didn't get a chance to experience it this time around, because of what was going on, and what is still going on. But the goal for next May is going to be my goal I'm going to set for myself is to have 1 billion people uh, memorize and sing the True Heart Academy slogan. And that was
Yeah.
the slogan I introduced when I began. So that's just a friendly goal that of intention that I just want to put out into the world, and, and because why not?
Why not? Yes, and
It can't not work. You
it
know what
can't
I'm
not work.
saying?
It's working already.
It can't not work. You just do it, and that's it.
Yeah. So, I want to know how we can actually connect with you in your practice. How are you getting your work out to the community?
So today, like mentioned earlier, this is the launch of True Art Academy offices and True Art Academy into the space of the virtual world. So after today, there'll be a lot more sessions that I offer that they'll find on the Instagram page, True Art Academy Instagram page, the True Art Academy blog on trueartacademy.com. And I just encourage everyone to enroll in True Art Academy and just go through the enrollment and answer the questions, and then you'll understand and know what the intention of this journey is all about. Once you get through the enrollment and the first lesson, you'll have a great picture of what it is that I'm doing and I'm setting out to do. And the I, me, is going to become the we.
Yes.
You know, and we just why not put out positive intentions into the world because this is what will spin it in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So,
So, talking about spinning in right directions and putting out positive intentions into the world, what are some of the intentions you set your mind on when you walk into the world? So, for example, what are some of your mantras or affirmations or even meditations? Are more specifically, what are some of your self care practices?
well, I make sure I do a daily grounding practice that is in my life. Been in my life for some years now, But for me, it's important that I ground myself. I always attempt to do it every morning. Definitely, when I was when we were in normalness, and we would go out, into our workspaces. I would always make sure I did it before I walked out into the world. Um, so, for me, it consists of moving the body, moving the body, and making sure I move every limb, I stimulate every limb, and then I'll mix in some intentional words. And overall, for me, uh, stabilizing my breathing is important, and I'm going to demonstrate that when I do the example to
Yeah.
show people how, just doing some intentional breathing for repetition helps you to stabilize your breathing and brings about what I've been talking about as coherence.
Yeah.
Out of that coherent space, you can make better decisions, because it connects you to your prefrontal cortex, your decision making aspect of your brain that you can arrive at when you minimize stress, when you minimize just thoughts going back and forth, and you focusing on just your breathing. Um, so, I do that, and I set my intentions. So sometimes and most times, the intentional word I set for myself right as I end my meditation or my morning sit is to have the best day ever. And sometimes that's it. It's just sometimes as simple as telling yourself, have the best day ever. Sometimes I might throw in uh, unblocked day, you know, and just having that intention. And the idea is that it's like a building block. So if I'm telling myself that on day one, I'm telling myself that on day 200, 300, it builds up momentum that I can't fall, but
Yeah.
so far. I
Mhm.
get knocked by whatever chaotic thing in the world. All right, it's all good because I've already set my intention way back. So it's using words to build yourself up. I mean, it's simple, but you'd be surprised how it can work for you. If you told yourself before you left you was gonna have a great day, and you told yourself that last week, you told yourself that the week before, it doesn't matter what. It matters what happens during the day, but you set that intention for yourself and that positive mantra, that positive wording. Some people don't even know what mantra means, but that positive repetition, encourages embodiment. And as long as you know that, because how else do we memorize songs? Repetition, right?
Repetition.
So it's that idea that a simple word can encourage embodiment. I'm gonna be a billionaire. Say it to yourself. I don't see why that wouldn't hurt.
Mm.
you
And
know.
talking about heart math, I just clicked on dictionary.com and looked on mantra so we can make sure we're clear in the words that we're sharing in the space. And it says
Hmm.
a word or formula, as from the Veda, chanted or sung as an incantation or prayer. A formula, heart math, right? It's
Hmm.
really the magic that creates so much of that piece you were talking about in our lives. All right. Well, Judith, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I definitely want us to stay on the line together as we move into the second half of our conversation, um, and talk a little bit more about how COVID has been impacting our lives, right? So, before we even go into that, I want to recognize and spotlight that September is National Suicide Prevention Month. And so, if anyone is dealing with a lot and they need help coping, there's been a lot of community unrest. There's been a lot of, loss and grief around COVID-19 and its outbreak. And so we can all, each one of us, every single one of us, everyone watching later, everybody watching now, we can all prevent suicide. In fact, the Lifeline, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, is currently a 24/7 resource. It's free, it's confidential, and it's for people in distress. Um, It helps people who are in crisis. And, you know, it can help you. It can help your loved ones. A lot of us, we may be going through so much and say to ourselves, you know, we're embarrassed to feel suicidal, right? Like, I'm not suicidal. I'm just deeply depressed. Well, you can call these lines and have a conversation. New York City Well is another resource. You can call and just talk to somebody, get through some of those feelings and those emotions. But I'm going to share some more resources, phone numbers and emails and websites a little later. And we're not going to keep you for too much longer, but I really wanted to take some time to reflect on a webinar that I attended earlier this month. It was hosted by New York City Well, Thrive New York City, and the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene. In fact, it was on this very same conversation. So bringing it right back to synchronicity. It was a community conversation about mental health, equity, and resilience, right? In fact, the two facilitators I want to give shout outs to right now were Teresa and Sue. So if in some strange series of events, Teresa and Sue comes across this video, bless you. So we really just want to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on our mental health, how much it has increased levels of anxiety and stress in our lives, especially Black, Indigenous, and people of color, right? We're dealing with a lot of historical trauma. And so right now, I want us to think more about what are some of the tips for self-care that's going to help build our emotional well-being and our coherence, like you spoke to, and also build our resilience, because we got a lot to get through. We've been through a lot and we've got a lot to get through, especially in this rapidly changing virtual world that we're moving into. So what are some of the challenges, some of the seemingly new challenges that our communities have had to endure? We're thinking a lot about how access to healthcare has changed, access to housing has changed, right? Economic insecurity and instability, these are all critical elements to our safety and security that are now shifting. We also know that people are dealing with separation from families, especially essential workers who are fearful of going home or being near their loved ones for fear of infection, right? And then we think about mothers who are going into hospitals to give birth to their newborns by themselves, their partners not being allowed in the room, the birthing room with them, or their family members not being allowed in the birthing room with them, and them also running the risk of contracting COVID, them and their newborn child. Again, the separation of families and what that, oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about that, and what that's like. And the abrupt and unexpected loss of so many lives. A lot of people are dealing with survivor's guilt. And that's a conversation that I don't think we talk a lot about, that I want to highlight. And again, the historical trauma, there's been a systemic racism. You know, it's institutional, it's environmental, it's cultural. And that is something that we've been enduring prior to COVID, and we continue to with these global uprisings. Honestly, this, you know, right? Anyhow, we also want to think about some of the old challenges. I'm acting like I'm outside. I'm touching my face. Some of the old challenges that really and truly always existed, but they've been exacerbated now with COVID-19. So we think about people and their resistance, the barriers to accessing mental health. We know that a lot of people do not have access to healthcare. We know that a lot of people aren't insured, and those who are insured may be underinsured. And these are things to, you know, center and to keep in mind, and think about how can we shift and change these things? How can we connect each other to resources and information? If we have access, how are we sharing that access, right? The lack of diversity in healthcare. There are people who are going into doctors' offices and meeting with individuals who do not speak their language. And they're met with conversations like, speak English. Nah, bruh. You know, if you speak English, you only speak one language. If I speak Spanish and several other languages, you learn one, right? There's a gift in that. So how do we find practitioners and providers that are multilingual, right? So we can truly have equitable access to healthcare. But also there's a lack of trust. There's a lot going on right now in our world and in our structural systems that discourage us from seeking out mental health care. So how can we kind of disrupt that, right? And invite more people into healing spaces. But also, we know discrimination exists. We know that the LGBTQIA plus community deals with a lot of discrimination in hiding, right? They're often left out of the conversation or at the margins of the conversations because there's so much taboo around these people in their lives, our lives, right? And how does that impact public health? How does that impact community health, right? What are our cultural and community practices to really ensure that everyone is safe and sound? So these are to this day still barriers that we're having to endure, but also immigration and socioeconomic status. Sometimes people don't want to go to the doctor's office or into community organizations for resources because of the fear of deportation, right? Or I can't act, it's not that I don't trust you, I just don't have the funds. I don't have the funds. My medication, for example, is $1,000. I don't have the funds. You know what I mean? Without insurance, I don't have the funds. So what does that look like if I have diabetes? What does that look like if I've got gout, you know? So all of these things are important. In the same way we focus on our physical health, we must focus on our mental health, especially in times like now. So I talked a lot about what our challenges are, old and new, but I really want us to start thinking about some of the strategies for coping, many of which you can find at True Heart Academy. You can download and find in that package. But beyond that, really and truly creating patient-centered care. If you yourself are a doctor, a nurse, a psychologist, psychiatrist, a teacher, because teachers wear many hats, right? How are you creating patient-centered care? And I think that when we start to look at the word patient and realize that everybody is a patient in the sense that everybody deserves tenderness and care, then we can really remember each other. But especially when we step into those doctor's offices, how do we provide patient-centered care? Even if you're not the doctor, it can be as simple as smiling at the person next to you, you know, who's enduring so much pain. But self-care, we have to think about self-care as well. So self-care can look like exercise, but obviously we don't want to exercise to excess because we can lean into that sometimes. But just like retail therapy, you don't want to do too much of it. So exercise, writing, you can start writing a book today. You can journal today. You can exercise your creative writing talents. Who knows? We might have some hip hop artists out here listening right now, you know? And music, of course, right? Attend all of the verses that you can attend, you know, sing your heart out with gospel music, or sing to Jay or Kendrick or whomever you singing to, sing out loud, right? But also, and most certainly connect with your higher power if you so choose, if you so have one. And increase self and social awareness, which is what I hope that we are doing now. And when we think about helping others and increasing social awareness, we really have to think about not only creating, but improving our current relationships, especially the supportive relationships. One thing Teresa said in the original facilitation was that we need to go where it's warm, right? Find ourselves in spaces that are warm already. That nurture our healing and nurture the love inside of us and the coherence that we're tapping into. Go where it's warm. But also there's opportunities to join support groups, especially mental health support groups. NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, has plenty of support groups that have gone virtual right now. And become a community advocate. And that's so simple. Being a community advocate is as simple as sharing the resources that you already have. And those resources can be, I can help you find out, right? I don't really know, but I know someone who does know. I will help you get access to that information. That is how you can be a community advocate. So these are all practices and strategies for coping, healthy strategies for coping, right? And then as far as additional resources and tools, I'm going to share some apps, some phone numbers, and some websites that people can write down. I'll type it out in the comments below because I know that it'll stay up. I actually made this particular live public so people can access it now and later and share it with your friends and loved ones and family. But there are mental health apps. So a lot of people are accessing the internet through their phones, right? Not even on computers. And so there are a lot of apps. If you're dealing with anxiety, there is the Shine app, SHINE. In fact, I'll type it in now. Ooh, I'm about to drop my whole life. The Shine app. There's also the Calm app, right? Finding peace and calm. And there is the, I might have actually spelled this incorrectly, y'all, So just Google it, the Ginger app. I would put mental health app in Google search field and put Ginger, and they'll autocorrect the spelling for you. And if you're dealing with depression, don't forget, you always have the suicide prevention line. New York City Well is also a line that you can tap into. And there's WISA. WISA is an app. Again, I might have the spelling off on this one. WISA is an app that takes you through cognitive behavior therapy, which is a therapy that I enjoy myself. And then Sanvelo. Sanvelo is another app for depression. And again, I'm typing all of these apps into the comment section. If you're dealing with issues around your sleep, you can try Restore, Rest, or Restore, or you can try Sleepio. So these are all apps that you can use, download on your phone today, keep them on your phone so you're ready to figure out how it works. These are just resources for you now that you can share with other people, you can use yourself. And as far as phone numbers and websites, I've mentioned New York City Well many times in this conversation. You can call them at 1-800-NYC-WELL. So I'm going to type that in now as well. NYC-WELL. Right? Ooh, that's that well-read Black girl. That is not what I wanted to put here. Thank you, Facebook, but I got this one. All right, New York City Well. And also you can text WELL well to 65173. And that is not my PIN number, 65173. So you can share it with whomever you like. Then, of course, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, who's been doing this work. They've been doing this work for many, many years. NAMI. NAMI's line is, their helpline is 1-800 950 6264 NAMI. And there's also inclusivetherapists.com. So we talk a lot about diversity and access to language accessible therapists and providers. So among many other that I can share with you, if you're a personal friend of mine, I'm always willing to share therapy networks with you. Inclusivetherapists.com is one of them. And there's the Black Mental Health Alliance. Their website is pretty easy to remember. It is blackmentalhealth.com. Blackmentalhealth.com. Yeah, I promise I don't type with my fingertips. I have my iPad in front of me and it's in the way of the keyboard. So don't laugh at me. And then there's the Asian Mental Health Collective, AMHC. Their website is www.asian Mental Health Collective. So that's M as in Mary, H as in ham, C as in cooking. I'm hungry, y'all. Can you tell? All right. So that is www.asiamhc.org. All right. So hopefully those apps, those phone numbers, and those websites will help you get closer to care so that we're all coping in healthy ways and helping each other.
I also added in a PDF called Heart Intelligence.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
It's a PDF on talking about heart math and the practice, and it'll give a more detailed explanation of the intention behind the practice. So that's a free offering.
Yes.
To folks to please download it.
Yep. So we've taken you through a lot so far in a little over an hour. We've talked about how to build resilience, the importance of seeking help, and utilizing all available resources. We've shared a number of them with you today. Again, please feel free to reach out to me, myself, and I, or Lord Judah, if you want more information about how we can support you or just point you in the direction of others who can support you even better. But remember, the key things or key points when we're thinking about building resilience is to be okay with where we are now. So accept things as they are. As I always say, it is what it is, right? And then that allows you to manage your expectations. A lot has changed, a lot has shifted. But as long as we shift our mindset around that, then we can better and best manage our expectations. And remember, go where it's warm. Go where it's warm. If you can, stay in touch with your loved ones, your family, and your friends, and practice mindfulness. But Judah, you want to take us through your mindfulness activity right now?
Yes, and also I want to shout out Mindful Schools. Uh,
Thank you.
so anyone in education, I encourage you. I've been working with Mindful Schools for some years now, and anyone in education, if you would like to solidify a practice and get support from educators all around the world and the country that are in classrooms just like you, that are in administration just like you, and you just want to have a support place that will be warm, check out mindfulschools.org and just you know take take a course and just get involved with it because it's a community that is definitely in the space of being prepared to help everyone manage mentally in this new climate inside of school buildings and inside the educational world in this country and around the world. So yeah, mindfulness is a good thing. It's a good thing. All right, so we're ready now. What we're going to do is I'm going to guide everyone through a sit, and um, I'm going to first encourage you to make sure you're sitting straight up and your posture is straight, meaning your spine is pointed towards the ceiling. And the idea is that we can be present for whatever it is that is going on, and in being present, it gives us what is called control. So knowing that you're always at the helm of the control of whatever it is that's going on with your life, So just by first having that posture and having that embodiment of you sitting and ready is the signal that you're sending out into the world, letting it know that you're there to stand strong, whatever it is that's going on. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to you can close your eyes if you would like to. When we close our eyes, it allows us to gain more access to that calm space. After a couple of deep intentional breaths, we can get closer, bring ourselves closer to coherence and closer to balance in our energies. And, you know, so I'll close my eyes. And what I'm going to ask you to do is you can just watch me, follow along, or you can actually practice with us. So we're going to start with a deep breath in through our noses. And when we take that deep inhale, we're going to make sure it fills up our bellies. So the idea is that us sitting straight up, our deep breath into our noses goes all the way down to our lungs, all the way down into our stomach. All right, and that's intentional breathing. That's the amount of air that we want to have enter into us. And then now we're going to exhale. Okay, so when we exhale, we're going to exhale for the same amount of time. So that deep inhale will come in, and now exhaling out through our mouths. So allowing us to have control over the exhale, we'll close our mouth just a little bit, like we're breathing out of a straw, and that'll allow us to extend the amount of air that's coming out. So inhale through our nose, exhale for the same amount of time. Inhale through our noses, exhale, same amount of time. And now we're going to do 5 rounds of that. And I'm just going to give us an intention to bring into this space. And the intention is to stand strong amongst chaos, to stand and remain resilient amongst chaos. So thinking about, before we even begin, thinking about all of the things that we have done so far that has allowed us to be present and be prepared for the next day. All the things that we've done to be able to even just show up for the next day. We've already done a lot, and just know that those were building blocks for where we're going. Your intention, our intention, will never be distracted. Why? Because we'll manage those distractions by knowing that we are here to move forward into where we are destined to be. So we'll start on 4. We'll begin with inhaling through our noses. Ready? On 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhaling through our noses. Exhale. Inhaling through our noses. Exhale. Focusing on our breathing. Inhaling through our noses. Exhale. 2 more. Inhaling through our noses. Exhale. Last one. Inhaling through our noses. And exhale. Now you can remain there for a second. Stay in that calm space, that calm energy that we were able just to create within that little time frame. Now imagine doing that for 20 to 30 minutes or even 10 minutes. This is a practice, and this is what we can use to create a ground floor for our mental well-being. Knowing that we can do this for ourselves allows us to go out into the world and achieve whatever it may be, regardless of any obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
Having that grounded space to fall back on is something that we have to take part in creating for ourselves. So this is why we practice. And when we work out, we lift weights, we can do that in mindfulness and have our sit and intention for ourselves to strengthen those muscles that sometimes we cannot see, but that are there. So I'm going to encourage you to now, when you hear the sound of the bell, if your eyes were closed, you can open them and just wait till you hear the last sound of the bell and then come back into the space. All right, so that's just a quick example of what that is to practice mindfulness.
Thank you so much. Judah bless. Bless you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. So we are closing out. I just want to say lastly to remember, as Judah would say, instead of your mind leading your breath, let the breath lead your mind. Remember to practice compassion with yourself and with others. And as best as you can, please, please stay optimistic. Your heart and your spirit and your mind deserve it. So I want to thank everyone who was able to join in on the conversation live. Those of you who'll be watching it later, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for choosing to press play. Thank you, Judah, for showing up again, for your presence, for your mind, for your love, for your spirit, for your energy, for your vibe. I appreciate you. For everyone who's bringing their spirit here because they couldn't be here in person, I want to thank you for helping us co-create communities of care and collective consciousness. I'm thankful that we are able to grow and glow together. And yeah, I hope that you can stay with us on our journeys of healing. You can find us across the interwebs. Judah, let them know how they can follow you. Follow you.
True Heart Academy, everywhere. Just search it up. True Heart Academy. You'll find me. You'll see my face, and follow the blogs, and can I leave with the True Art Academy slogan? Can I leave us with that?
Yes. Can we do that one more again? Can you do a call and response? I want to learn it.
Okay. So, like I said, this is a goal, and this is an example of what True Art Academy is about. You'll be able to get a lot for it out of me setting this intention and goal is to have as many people as possible memorize this so that they can just incorporate it into their lives. So it goes like this: lose your mind.
Use your mind.
Lose.
I thought you said lose. That's what the delay was. I was like, what did he say?
Yeah, so it's lose your mind.
Lose your mind.
Use your heart.
Use your heart.
Dream big.
Dream big.
From the start.
From the start.
With the will.
With the will.
Of our intent.
Of our intent.
We can power.
We can power.
Through any event.
Through any event.
Charge up.
Charge up.
Free the mind.
Free the mind.
And repeat this.
And repeat this.
All the time.
All the time. Thank you.
Hold on, I forgot the last part. Read it all the time. Stay on the grind.
Stay on the grind.
Stay kind.
Stay kind.
Stay aligned.
Stay aligned.
And you'll be fine.
And you'll be fine. Thank you, y'all.
Resolution to the thing.
Yes.
I forgot the words. We was lost in the moment. Forgot the words.
That was good, but this has all been on time speaking about that. So thank you again. I want to invite you all to find more spaces for emotional justice and healing arts and restorative recovery. Don't just find yourself here. Share with us other places you've been, other places you're going. We'd love to keep the circle of sharing open and the line of support open as well. Again, my name is Kymani Jade, Kymani Jade for short. I didn't introduce myself before, but I am a spoken word and multimedia and advanced teaching artist, and I work in education. I do all of those things, and I'm thankful to be able to share space with you, Judah, today. You can find me otherwise on all of the social media waves at Kymani Jade, Kymani Jade, like the mineral jade. And of course, you can find me on YouTube. Just go ahead and type in Kymani Jade, and I will meet you there. So again, thank you, Judah. Thank you again. And I look forward to talking with you more, both off and online. So bless.
Yeah. Shout out everybody doing your thing. Much love to you. Keep forging forward.
All right, y'all. Peace. Peace.